This is actually going to be a video about how my father tried to deport me. I did two videos already, a part one and part two, about me living in Florida and how I almost got deported. But I'm going to do a part three and four about how my own father tried to have me deported. Now, I came to America as a adoptee, but I'm gonna have to do a video on that, of how I came as an adoptee, because there's a whole long story. There's a behind the scenes story on that. Well, but today all I want to discuss is how his first attempt at trying to have me de- well deported, and it wasn't, say, deported by the proper authorities. He wanted to self-deport me because he thought he was the proper authorities. So let me begin to explain how this happened. He had a problem with me, but the problem really wasn't with me. The problem was with him. He had a lot of issues that went unsolved, because when I came to this country, I was supposed to be coming to a family. A mother and a father adopted me, and I was supposed to be coming here to them. But instead, when I got here, to my surprise, it was just him. It was no longer a family I was coming to. I was just coming to my adopted father, whom happened to be, by the way, my real father in real life. We share the same DNA. But anyway, how he tried to deport me was because he wasn't getting along with me, or he thought I was this horrible little kid, or whatever it was that he thought at the time. Because like I said, he had a bunch of issues going on, and this platform I'm going to use to raise those issues to find out, or to ask my followers what they think on what was going on with him mentally, because he had some real mental issues. But anyway, how he tried to deport me was, he felt like he was having issues with me. He didn't want me in the United States anymore. He wanted me to go home and be with my mother, my true mother. So he plotted on me. And how he plotted on me, at the time, I think I had just started high school. I was in high school. And I just started high school. It's about 13, 14. And I started junior high. Sorry, it was junior high. And he came to the school one day. I'm outside standing up with some friends, and he came to the school. And when he came to the school, he saw me, because he was a cab driver, and I'm looking down the street. I see this cab coming. I'm like, why does that look like my father? And lo and behold, it was him. Pulls up, and I'm standing in front of the school, and he calls me, and he says, come here. So when he says come, I walk down the steps and go towards a cab, and he says, get in. So I get in. I'm like wondering what the hell's going on, because I'm supposed to be going to class right now. He says to me, I just got a letter from your mother, a telegram. Back then they were doing telegrams. I just got a telegram from your mother saying that she was sick. I'm like, you got a telegram from my mother saying that she was sick? He was like, yeah, and you got to go home immediately. You got to catch a flight immediately and go home and see what's going on with your mother. I was like, okay, because normally I would go home every year anyway on vacation, as summer vacation, and be around my mother, my real mother. But I think the year before he did this, I hadn't gone to see my mother. And because as the years kept going by and by, I was seeing my mother less and less, because he kind of cut down on me going every summer to see my mom, to where now I would, instead of going every summer, I was going every other summer to see my mother, something to that effect. Well, anyway, he runs, and we get back to the apartment, and he says, "Oh, I've got a telegram from your mother. Here it is." But he had showed me the telegram already from when we was in the cab, because he was a cab driver. He owned his own cab. He had a medallion. I don't know if anybody knows anything about back in the day with the yellow cabs and the medallion, but he had one of those. So he was his own boss, so he could do whatever he wanted to do. So I'm sitting in the cab. He pulls out this telegram. Back then, like I said, there were telegrams. Pulls out the telegram. He gives it to me. I was an avid reader at the time. I read the telegram. If I can remember clearly, it says my mother was saying she's sick, she needs to see me, da 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 da. She wants me to come home. So, but I didn't realize that he couldn't have just bought a ticket like that back then. So, but I'm young and dumb and not realizing he had already had me a ticket and everything. So I went home, changed. He had already had my suitcase packed. I didn't have to do shit. My suitcase was already packed. Looked like he planned my trip around all of this. He gave me time to go to school where he can drive, pick me up. I had packed my bags probably after I left for school. All of this. So I get on, my bag is packed, the clothes I'm supposed to wear is laid out on the bed, everything. Ticket bought already, everything. So I catch a flight, and he gives me money to catch a cab from the airport to go home. One thing I've always remembered as a kid, that I always remember how to get home. As a child, I would always memorize how to get home, and I would always pick landmarks that would show me I'm headed towards home. And Jamaica has always been my home. I was never happy or comfortable in the United States at no given point at all. So I always remembered home. So I get there, Montego Bay Airport, and I have money because he gave me money. And I take the money, and as a kid, I'm like 13, 14. Luckily for me, back then, it wasn't as dangerous as it is now. You couldn't do that now. This is a different time and day. But back then, it was a lot safer. So I got myself a cab from the airport, and I told them exactly where I wanted to go and how to get there. And the guy who was driving the cab, he said, "I'd never been in this area my whole life, and I've been driving cabs or whatever." At the time, I think he gave me $100. And back then, that was a lot of money. $100 was a lot of money. This was in the 70s. Gave me $100. Like I said, it was a lot of money. And, so when I catch this cab, I tell the guy, "I got the money to pay you." And he takes me, and I was able to direct him as to where I lived and how to get there. And the closest place I could tell him was, "You gotta go like you going to Lucia." And he says, yes, he knows where Lucia is. And I said, "Before you get into the town of Lucia, there's a road that takes you up in the mountains. And I can show you the road." And he said, okay. And he was able to take me up in the mountains. And all the way up there I went. And when he dropped me off, I gave him the $100. I gave him the $100. My mother didn't even know I was coming. So he drops me off in the road. I tell him I'm okay to give me my suitcase. I could walk to my yard from there. Because the back then the cab couldn't actually drop me at my door because I lived up in the hills on the mountain top, and where my mother was, I had to now walk from the main road onto the road that my mother lived on. And I get into the yard and my mother's looking at me like, how did you get here? Where are you coming from? My mother is in total shock. She didn't expect me. She didn't know how I got there. She didn't know. She dropped down, and when I told her how I took a cab from the airport to get there, she was in tears. Tears. Because she felt like that was the most dangerous thing that could have ever happened to me at that age. Coming from such a far in a cab by myself up in the mountains. And she had no clue that I was even coming. So when I told her what had happened, how I had gotten a telegram, she says, I never sent a telegram. I'm not sick. There's nothing wrong with me. Who told you that? And I didn't have the telegram to show her. But it so happened, long story short, at that time I ended up staying in Jamaica for almost a year. I was there for 11 months. And I'm going to tell you how I ended up there for 11 months. He took away my green card from me. The only thing he left me with was my passport. So I couldn't travel back to the United States without a green card. But I was very smart. I was always a smart kid. So while my mother's running around trying to figure out, well, shit, how can I get you back in the United States? This is crazy, how he did this, yada yada. I told my mother, I said, let me tell you what, it's going on. It was already 6 months that I had been there. And I said to my mother, I said, let's go to Kingston. Let's go to the embassy or the immigration in Kingston. Let them know I came to Jamaica, but while I was there, I lost my green card. And I need to get another green card to get back into the United States. And voila, they gave me another green card to get back into the United States. So I'm in Jamaica and we're waiting on them to issue me a green card to come back to the United States. And because we had to say I lost my green card while vacationing down there. But by this time, I'm going to school. I'm doing everything because my mother put me in school right away. I was like, you got to go to school. You got to do this. You got to do that. Yada, yada. So I'm going to school already by this time because my mother didn't know what else to do. But I was always, like I told her, go and we'll say I lost the green card, whatever. So he contacts my mother after about 10 months, tells my mother that he wants her to send me back and he's going to send the green card. But by this time, I've got a green card in my possession. I've got a brown envelope with all my documents in there that was sent from immigration, that when I get to the United States, all I got to do is give them the brown manila envelope and everything is in there, sealed from immigration. My aunt had contacted us in Jamaica, and my aunt wanted me back in the United States. And my aunt was gonna take me back into the United States. But he didn't want my aunt to take me back in the United States. So he started having issues, talking about he's coming to get me, whatever. But before he could come and get me, my mother had already sent me back to the United States. And when she sent me back to the United States, she sent me to my aunt. And I was living with my aunt at this point. After 11 months of being in Jamaica, when she sent me back to my aunt, because I was like, I don't want to go back to him. Send me to my aunt. Only to find out, while living with my aunt, the only reason he sent me away was so that he can get married, because he had a girlfriend. And he didn't want me to be around because he was getting ready to start a new life with this woman that he had married to. So I'm back in America. I'm living with my aunt. He realizes that I'm back in America and I'm at my aunt. And he threatens my aunt and tells my aunt that she's got to hand me back over to him, or he's going to report her to the proper authorities, all kind of crap. So I ended up going back, living with him in his house. Well, apartment. He had an apartment. But when I go back now, I go back to a brand new baby and a wife. He had a wife and a brand new baby. He had a son that he had always prayed and wished that he could have a son all his life. So now he's with a wife, and he's got a brand new baby, and he's got a son. And so me coming back and being there with them now was an inconvenience. He didn't want me, but he just didn't want my aunt to have me. You understand? He felt like she shouldn't have me, that if I was going to be anybody's possession, I was going to be his possession to do at will whatever he felt like he wanted to do with me at any given time. That was my first time trying to be deported by him. I want you guys to like, comment, and share this, and tell me exactly what you think. And what do you think my next part 2 is going to be of how he tried to deport me the second time? Tell me what you think is going to happen from the story that I just told you. Put together what you think is going to happen for part 2 of how I almost got deported by my father. Well, it'll be part 4. This is part 3. But part 1 and 2 was how I almost got deported by immigration in South Florida. Part 3 and 4 is going to be how I almost got deported from my own father. All right, like, comment, share. Tell me what you think.